Alright, here we go. This video is really intended to show you how to construct this hovercraft, Kelvin hovercraft. Right now, I'm just going to go over the first page here. What you should have is the instruction booklet, and it has excellent pictures, diagrams, everything on how to build a hovercraft. So this may be, for some people, all you need. This video is extra. You'll need your design grid paper. That's the second thing. Also, it says you'll need a 9-volt battery, DC battery. We won't actually need a battery. And we'll be using, I want you to cross out the 1.5 7-volt DC motor. We're actually going to use 3 9-volt DC motors, the larger motors. So we're going to use the larger ones. So you should have 2 motors here. Put everything right here in my cup. We should have a 9-volt battery snap, and it looks something like that. We're actually not going to use the 9-volt. We're going to use the power pole to run our hovercraft. So there's a couple things we're not going to need, but there's your 9-volt battery snap. And you're going to have a switch, and this is optional. If you want to put a switch on your hovercraft to be able to turn it off and on, you can wire that, but you really don't need it because it's going to be hooked up to a power pole. So if you want to put the switch on, that's fine. You will also have an 1/8 inch by 12 inch dowel rod right there. You may use that, you may not. You'll have a craft stick, and if you want to use some extra ones, that's fine. We have those. So I have 4. Next, you'll have a couple pieces of wire that you'll need. You'll have a straw. I have a couple here. If you want to use different size straws, that's fine, but there's the red straws there. Then you actually have a 10 by 12 meat tray that you'll be using for the hovercraft's base. And you'll also have the styrofoam container. This is 5.5 by 5.5, the styrofoam container. Probably use half of that. And I would recommend using the half without the holes in the end here. You'll also have a 16-ounce styrofoam cup. And this flexible, 50 inches of this flexible isolation foam. If you want to use it as the base of your hovercraft, you can. I actually will probably not use that. The tools needed. You'll need a ruler. You'll need a pen or pencil. I actually like a fine Sharpie instead of a pen or pencil. It writes a little bit better on this styrofoam. You can have a circle compass. I like this with a pencil, or you can actually use the compass if you want. And they're in the drawer over there. You put a sharp pencil in there. And then a low temp hot glue gun. And a razor knife. And I like to use the knife just to get me started with the holes, but actually I like to cut out with scissors. It's a little bit better, I think. And then you'll need a soldering iron, and we'll get to that when we do the wires. And that should be the equipment that you're going to need and the tools. So you want to make sure you have all that. Okay, now what I recommend is that you open this up and read about the design challenge and the fans and how hovercraft works. Now, it's really important for these first steps here. We are doing option A. We're going to use an outside power source with the power pole. So we are going to shift the center point a 1/4 inch forward. This option is the preferred one. You have more time to operate the hovercraft because batteries are going to run out. So we have a power pole here. Now, we are not using the 5-inch and the 3-inch blade. We are actually going to take, and I'm not even going to give you this 5-inch blade. We're going to take that and throw that away. Okay, we don't need this. These are actually more powerful. So we're going to use the 2 3-inch blades. And so the first step, you can ruin your hovercraft because it says draw a 5-inch diameter circle. Well, we're not drawing a 5-inch one. We're drawing a 3-inch. A lot of students might say, well, how big's 5-inch? Well, you notice what I did first is just they did in the first diagram there. I found the center point. I moved it forward 1/4 of an inch, and then I drew my 3-inch diameter. And if I put my blade on there, okay, it's going to be just about equal to that blade. Okay, and you notice right now I am on the top of the hovercraft. Okay, this is the bottom. Another thing I did, and it says in the directions, you may want to just sand down if you have any rough corners here. Okay, so I've done a couple steps already, but the most important thing is our center is going to be 1/4 inch up, and we're only cutting a 3-inch diameter hole. A lot of people, there will be some people that won't follow this, and they will cut a 5-inch hole. Okay, so I'm going to go on, do a couple more steps. I'm going to cut out my hole, and I'm going to come back to the next step after this. So make sure you do this properly. Now you can see I cut my hole out, and instead of using the round dowel sticks that came with it, I just went on the scroll saw and cut a popsicle stick in half. I think that works better. It gives me a better surface. I'm going to line this up so when my propeller goes around the hole, it's in the center of the hole. Once I get it lined up, I'm going to take and simply mark it here, and then I'm going to remove it. I've already plugged in my hot glue gun, and I'm going to use a little bit of glue to glue these sticks right on here to the engine and right on here to the so I can mount my motor. And you notice these are on top. Once again, my hovercraft is down. This is on top because I do not want my propeller to hit the ground. I also mounted my propeller in there before I put it in, which is another good tip. Right, once your motor is mounted, this is really what it should look like, and you want to make sure that it spins freely in there and that it's securely mounted. Okay, very important. You don't want it hitting the styrofoam. So, and you notice we just have the 3 propeller motor hooked up. Okay, next I'm going to do I'm going to work on the cabin and the cabin motor. So I have the other motor here, and this is the styrofoam that you're going to use for the cabin. So I'm going to follow the steps here, and then I'm going to come back and show you what my cabin looks like. And I'll tell you if there's anything you have to watch out for in here. It's actually very easy to cut the 3-inch out of here, because if you use the one mark, once you mark your 3 inches, it's going to be right out to those ridges. And so it's really easy to find the center right here, of course, and then to find the center mark. And you notice I'm using scissors once I got it started. I think you just cut a much better circle. And I don't want to push hard on this styrofoam anyway with my utility knife. So I can just cut a circle out, and once I cut the circle out, I'm going to use some sandpaper or a file just to smooth that circle up. And so you should end up with something like that. Alright,